All right, so it's the same objective. Notice right here, the 5.1 assignment is due. Hopefully you've already turned that in. If not, you want to get that in today. It was on your little grade sheet, so if your grade looks low, you might be missing 5.1. You need to get that turned in, okay? If you need it, you know where to get it in the blue bin, right over here. Just like yesterday, I want you to write a y equals mx plus b linear equation from this situation. Here we go. Edgar is straight slacking in Mr. G's class. Slack. All lack. All slack. All right. So what does he do? He eats a trolley worm before class starts. And then, during class, he eats 5 trolley worms every 5 minutes. Now, in this very real scenario, okay, but y'all remember yesterday we talked about y equals mx plus b. M is changing. B is the starting amount. So let's read this again. It says he eats 1 trolley worm before class starts. Is that the M or the B? What do y'all think? Okay, if it's B4, that's my beginning starting amount. So yeah, 1 worm is going to be my B value. So my M value, what's changing each time? Repeating 5, and here's how I know. Every 5 minutes, okay? That's a changing amount. That's going to be for slope. What is this? Okay, changing. It's slope. Before, that's my beginning. That's my B value, okay? Okay, now, just like yesterday, you got to be able to get an equation from a situation, a scenario. Okay, now, I know I passed this out yesterday. We're here. Yeah. Okay, I want you to pull this out. It says Notes, Linear Functions Crash Course. We're going to go over this, okay? If you weren't here, then this is where you get it. But I definitely passed this out yesterday. So see if you have this. If not, come get it right here. We're going to go over that real quick before I give you an assignment on that. It's called Linear Functions Crash Course. Is everybody, look. Hey. Is everybody looking at this paper? All right. So this is the day at Six Flags. Woo! All right. So it's finally spring break. You and your friends are planning to go to Six Flags. You're quite nervous about causing damage to your skin, of course. So you routinely apply sunscreen. You apply sunscreen once before entering the park, when you're at home, and then 3 times every hour once you're there, okay? So that's your situation. It's like our warm-up. We got 2 numbers. We're trying to make an equation, okay? Is everyone looking up here? Look up here. So, part A, my goal is to construct a linear equation, y equals mx plus b, okay? What is the rate of change? Remember, change is your m value. Rate of change is your slope. So which one of those numbers, the once or the 3 times, which one do you think is the slope, the rate of change? 3? Why 3? Okay, keyword is every hour. Remember, change, the changing number that happens over and over and over, is 3 every hour is the keyword that lets you know, okay? So my rate of change, my slope, my m is 3, okay? What is my b? What's my y-intercept? Where does it begin? Before I even get to Six Flags, how many times have I put sunscreen on? Yeah, it says you apply sunscreen once before entering the park. So that's your beginning. You've started with 1 layer, okay? 1 layer of sunscreen. So 1, how do I know it's 1 for the B? Because we said the word before. That's my beginning word, okay? So these are key words that I'm writing off to the side to help you notice. B is at the beginning, happens once. Rate of change, M, happens over and over. It's the changing amount. Okay? Now, if I know M and I know B, let's write my equation. So my equation, y equals mx plus b, what's it going to be? Y equals what? 3x plus 1, okay? So if you put 1x plus 3, you want to think about which one goes where. The changing amount goes in front of the x. The beginning, starting amount goes after the x, after the plus sign. Okay, now let's make a table. If you have this equation, you tell me, what's the easiest way to get a table when you have an equation? Look at me, look. This thing, right? You graph it and you press what button to get a table? Control T. Does everyone actually know this? Okay. Now, I don't know if that's, has it been doing that for a while? Well, you can get that in a bit. But, so you should be able to get the table pretty easy just by typing it in, hitting Control T. But let's just think about this. At 0 hours, before you even get to the park, how many times did you put on sunscreen? It tells you you did it once before going to the park. So go ahead and put 0, 1 layer of sunscreen, okay? Now, once you're there, after each 1 hour, how much are you adding on to that 1 layer? 3. So if you add 3 to this 1 layer, how much do you have now? 1 plus the 3 gives you 4 layers of sunscreen. You should be very well protected with 4. But guess what? On the next hour, you're going to add another 3. So from that 4, adding the 3, we get 7 layers. Wow, like a 7-layer burrito. And then the third hour, you add 3 more layers of sunscreen, and now you got 10 layers. Now, of course, you sweat. Some of them come off, but 10 layers of sunscreen, that's pretty, be pretty buttered up there. Slimy. Yeah. All wet looking, you know. All right. Anyways, so now you got an equation. You got a table. Everything's good. Let's go to part B. Our equation from part A should not be surprising. It's not. So what does the M represent? Okay. Rate of change, it's the amount of sunscreen per hour. How much sunscreen is applied per hour? I guess I should put applied. And what does the B represent? Well, we always say B stands for the beginning or the initial value. Okay, the initial amount of sunscreen applied. Okay, so you're able to explain what's going on in the word problem, right? Huh? Right? Huh? Huh? Hey, food. Yeah, you. This time it's you. All right. Now, part C. Can you use those points on that table and put them on a graph? Some of us are having trouble graphing X horizontally before Y. So let's think about this. Look at my table. I have 0, 1. So 0 is on the origin. 1 is up 1. 0, 1 is over here. It's not to the right, down, or up. It's 0 on the X horizontally, 1 on the Y vertically. What about 1, 4? I put my pencil at the origin. 1 means go to the right 1. 4 means go up 4. Put a point. 2, 7. Y'all see that on the table up here? So I go to the origin, 2 to the right, up 7, put a point. 3, 10. From the origin, go to the right 3, up 10, put a point. Now, with your rulers, or as steady of a hand as you can, make a straight line through those points. Mine looks kind of ugly. Oh, it's very hard to do this. But I did it. Okay, so again, you want to make a nice straight line, as straight as you can. Now, this last part, you're going to be using that equation, y equals 3x plus 1, and answering these questions. So how many times will you have put on sunscreen after 3 hours in the park? What do you think? Now, it's already on our table. When we have 3 hours, you see right next to it is 10. Okay? You could also, on your yellow calculator, graph it, Control T, look at that table, right? So when x is 3 hours, the y value we get is 10 layers of sunscreen. 10 layers. Wow. Very, very sunscreened up. Okay, what about the next one? How many times have you applied sunscreen after 7 hours at the park? Well, it's not on my table right now, but I know I can use my equation, right? 3x plus 1. So y equals, let me make this bigger here, sorry. Y equals 3x plus 1. So I can plug in 7 hours into that x. So what's 3 times 7 plus 1? What's 3 times 7? 21 plus that extra 1. 22 layers. After 7 hours at the park, you got 22 glorious layers of sunscreen on you. How does that feel? How does that sound? Very weird. All right, now, please be careful in this last question. The last question is not saying, okay, after what about 11 hours? What does it say? If you applied sunscreen 11 times, if you have 11 layers, how many hours? They're saying if the y value is 11, what would your x value be? Close. So this is tricky. I mean, this is you got to think backwards. So check it out. What you're going to do is you're going to put 11 in for your y value, and that's going to equal the equation 3x plus 1. Okay. Do you see how the 11 is here, and that equals 3x plus 1? You should be able to solve this. Technically, you could do and solve, but we're just going to do it doing opposites. The loaner is plus 1. How do I get rid of that plus 1? Minus 1, minus 1. So I have 10 equals 3x. And then my last step, to get rid of that 3 in front of x, what do I do? Divide by 3. So when they're asking how many hours, it's 10 divided by 3 hours. Now, you might be able to press Control Enter and get like 3.3 repeating, or 3 1/3 hours. And here's the last thing we can convert. What is 1/3 of an hour? How many minutes is 1/3 of an hour? So how many minutes in an hour? 60, and a third means you just divide it by 3. 20 minutes, okay? So really it's 3 hours, 20 minutes. That's good, okay? So I know that one, this one is the trickiest one. So I'm telling you, please read these carefully. I have an assignment for these notes. It's all just linear stuff. You make the equation. Please make sure your first equation is right, and then you answer the questions, okay? This is for if you're done with 5.1. But if you're looking at your little grade sheet and you're like, man, I have like a 1 or I have a 50 or something, and you haven't turned in 5.1, everybody, please turn in 5.1. And then if you're done with that, this is next, okay? It's called Linear Functions Crash Course. Cool. I'm going to pass this out. I'm going to let y'all work. If you're stuck, please let me know. I'll help you out. Here we go.